returning to New York City and Madison Square Garden. Yes, it was definitely an exciting night. He got out with a hero's welcome, surrounded by his dream team, a front row seat there. Elon Musk, Don Jr., his son, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, also joining him along with RFK. Tulsi was there somewhere, but not in this picture when you showed that even RFK Jr. enjoys a splurge from the diet every once in a while, from that nutritional menu he touts so often. There is a lot of debate over the president-elect's cabinet picks and so many more headlines to discuss, including this one from the New York Times. Trump's cabinet picks panned in Washington thrill many of his voters, end quote. Axios reporting that Americans who kept who they're voting for a secret are now celebrating with what some are calling coming out parties. It's really about not hiding their support for MAGA. A study from Columbia Business School finding it's true more people are vocal about the Democratic choice, and Trump supporters are often closer to the vest with their pick. Perhaps not anymore. Joining me right now, NewsNation campaign reporter Libbey Dean. Libbey, I've never heard of anybody having a coming out party about their election choice, but would you say the mood in a lot of these blue cities and states before Trump won has shifted, or that people are more vocal about saying they voted for him?
Adrienne, it's no shock that Trump supporters are being more vocal now because there are more of them. We saw him win all of the swing states, and then we see that he's likely going to win the popular vote. So there are more of them, and more of them coming out of the woodwork. And that's what led to this election win that we saw on November 5th. And when I was thinking about you asking me this, what I thought back to was that ad that Kamala Harris's campaign really seized on, where it showed women who were voting for Kamala Harris, but their husbands were voting for Trump, and the women weren't telling their husbands. It was kind of this closeted vote situation. And we didn't see that, and we saw it on Trump's side, where these people are now coming out of the woodwork when they weren't talking about how they were outwardly in support of Trump. So really contrasting things. But what I can tell you from being on the ground, Adrienne, is we saw this support long before the election. I mean, these rallies were huge, and these supporters were incredibly vocal, but now even more vocal than before because he's going to be the next president.
Yeah, the next president, and obviously there are names that have been thrown about and nominations that have been announced. Matt Gaetz as U.S. Attorney General getting probably the most scrutiny. But what about his pick for Secretary of Energy?
Well, this pick, Adrienne, is definitely getting less scrutiny, and it's because a name that isn't really well known. It's not a household name in any fashion. It is Chris Wright, who Trump has tapped for his Secretary of Energy. We got this announcement late last night. Now, this cabinet pick is CEO of a fracking company, and this lines up with Trump's campaign promise to increase fracking. Also worth noting here, Adrienne, that Chris Wright was also a donor to President-elect Trump's campaign.
One more question for you. President-elect Trump has warned that he may bypass the Senate to push through some of his nominees. Are you hearing any more about this?
These would be recess appointments, and it's something that Trump has been pushing for in recent weeks. And it's not unprecedented for us to see this happen when it comes to these lower-level staff positions getting pushed through. But Trump is wanting these recess appointments for his cabinet-level picks that you were just talking about that are somewhat controversial. But we'll see how this plays out in the next few weeks, and we're waiting for more of those cabinet announcement picks. But we'll see it all play out as if they're approved by the Senate in the long run. Adrienne?
News Nation's Libbey Dean, always love having you with us. Thank you so much. Let's get back to some of those highlights from the UFC fight shown around the world. President-elect Trump walking out to Kid Rock. I believe he was greeted by Jelly Roll at some point, the very, very beloved musician. Flanked by UFC President Dana White. You saw him greeting some folks there. Speaker Mike Johnson, Elon Musk, Kid Rock, Don Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. There are a lot of people who had counted former President Trump out in terms of this November 5th election, but not this audience. You can recall the last time he was at a UFC fight and the news followed him. He received a standing ovation. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.